Good evening. For months, he said the story was completely untrue, ridiculous and false. But this morning, at about 11 a.m., Senator John Edwards gave ABC's Bob Woodruff an exclusive interview. In it, he finally admitted he had engaged in an extramarital relationship, been unfaithful to his wife, Elizabeth. Her brave battle with cancer has made her one of the most admired women in America. You'll see that interview in a moment, but first, how did John Edwards get to this point? Bob Woodruff now reports.
I'm using my best cheerleader voice.
I told Elizabeth when she was first re-diagnosed in March that I would do anything. I love her. Been married to her for 30 years. I'd do anything for her. And she is completely committed to this cause. This is the cause of our lives.
These images and sentiments are now a powerful part of the American collective memory. The determination of Elizabeth Edwards to devote the last years of her life to her husband's ambitions. But in October of 2007, the National Enquirer ran a story alleging that for more than a year, while Elizabeth Edwards' very public battle with cancer was unfolding, John Edwards had been carrying on an affair with a woman who worked on his campaign.
That's a great speech.
So glad you like it.
I like it.
The woman in question, Rael Hunter, was a 44-year-old divorcee. A pro-Edwards group had hired her to make these videos for the Edwards website.
The story's false. It's completely untrue.
When asked directly whether the story of the affair was accurate, Edwards issued the first of a series of strong denials to our reporter, Raylan Johnson.
I've been in love with the same woman for 30-plus years, as anybody who's been around us knows. She's an extraordinary human being, warm, loving, beautiful, sexy, and as good a person as I have ever known. So the story's just false.
In December, the paper published the news that Rael Hunter was more than 6 months pregnant, and that unnamed sources said John Edwards was the father. Shortly afterward, Rael Hunter denied it, and a married campaign staffer named Andrew Young declared that he was in fact the father of the child. The tabloid allegations failed to catch fire in the mainstream media, and in late January, when it became clear that the Democratic race would come down to Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, Edwards dropped out of the primaries.
It's time for me to step aside.
Then in July, the Enquirer reported that Edwards was seen sneaking out of the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles, and that Rael Hunter and her child were staying there as well.
Senator, were you at Beverly Hilton with Rael Hunter?
And
you'll answer all my questions like usual, right, Senator?
I will answer questions at the press
Thank you. I'll see you then.
You're welcome.
Last week, the National Enquirer reported that an associate of Edwards was transferring large sums of money to Rael Hunter and Andrew Young.
Has you or anyone affiliated with your presidential campaign provided any financial help to Rael Hunter or Andrew Young?
I have no idea what you're asking about. I've responded consistently to these tabloid allegations by saying I don't respond to these lies, and you know that, Raylan, you covered me, and I stand by that.
And finally, 2 days ago, the Enquirer published this blurry photo, alleging that it showed Edwards at the Beverly Hilton holding Rael Hunter's 5-month-old baby girl, though it is difficult to make out the identity of the man in the photo.
And Bob Woodruff joins us now. Bob, how did this interview come about?
Well, Martin, after a series of conversations over the last week or so, the Edwards agreed that we could come down to their home in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, so that John Edwards could sit down with me and answer the allegations directly. They asked specifically that this air on NightLine and said there were absolutely no restrictions on what I could ask, but gave us only a limited amount of time. Let me ask you the question. Did you have an affair with Miss Hunter?
Well, can I say first thank you, Bob, for coming and honoring the request and giving me a chance to talk. In 2006, 2 years ago, I made a very serious mistake, a mistake that I am responsible for and no one else. In 2006, told Elizabeth about the mistake, asked her for her forgiveness, asked God for his forgiveness, and we have kept this within our family since that time. All of my family knows about this. And just to be absolutely clear, none of them are responsible for it.
Is this affair completely over?
Oh, yes, it's been over for a long time.
How long did it last, and when exactly did it end?
Well, here's how I feel about this, Bob. I think that my family is entitled to every detail. They've been told every detail. Elizabeth knows absolutely everything. I think that's where it stops in terms of the public, because I think everything else is within my family, and those privacy boundaries ought to be respected.
I know this is a very difficult question, but were you in love with her?
I'm in love with one woman. I've been in love with one woman for 31 years. And she is the finest human being I have ever known. And the fact that she is with me after this having happened is a testament to the kind of woman and kind of human being she is. There is a deep and abiding love that exists between Elizabeth and myself. It's always been there. In my judgment, has never gone away.
She's had enormous sympathy because she's also going through cancer.
Yes.
How could you have done this?
Can I explain to you what happened? First of all, it happened during a period after she was in remission from cancer. There's no excuse in any possible way for what happened. This is what happened. I grew up as a small-town boy in North Carolina. You know, came from nothing, worked very hard, dreamed that I'd be able to do something hopeful and helpful to other people with my life. I became a lawyer. Through a lot of work and success, I got some acclaim as a lawyer. People were telling me, oh, he's such a great person, such a great lawyer, such a talent. You're going to go, no telling what you'll do. And this was when I was 31 years old. Then I went from being a young senator to being considered for vice president, running for president, being a vice presidential candidate, and becoming a national public figure. All of which fed a self-focus, an egotism, a narcissism that leads you to believe that you can do whatever you want. You're invincible. And there will be no consequences.
So
nothing could be further from the truth.
So your assumption is that you would just never be caught?
First of all, it was short. It was a huge mistaken judgment. But yeah, I didn't think anyone would ever know about it. I didn't. And the important thing is, could I ever get to that place, and allow myself to let that happen? And I believe the reason it happened is because I had gone through this long process where I became, at least on the outside, something different than that young boy who grew up in a small town in North Carolina. And because that young boy would never have done this, never thought about doing it, to his family or to his wife.
And speaking of Elizabeth, if you thought that you would not get caught, how did she find out about this affair?
I told her.
This was before there was the public reporting about this?
Oh, it was way before. This was in 2006. She was mad. She was angry. I think furious would be a good way to describe it. And it was painful for her, hard and painful for her. But she responded exactly like the kind of woman she is. I mean, she forgave me, and we went to work on it. I'm not saying she thought it was okay. I'm not saying that. But she did forgive me. Now, listen, she understands what I understand, which is that I am imperfect. And anybody watching this broadcast or who hears about this, who wants to beat me up for this, they should have at it. The truth is, you can't possibly beat me up more than I've already beaten myself up.
If you see this, though, in the reports, and you see this now breaks out,
yes,
why did you continue to deny it and not tell the truth?
Because I did not want the public to know what I had done. Very simple.
You were running for President of the United States.
Yes.
But at that time, you were living in a lie. You could have been the Democratic nominee. What were you thinking?
Well, what I was thinking was this was something that was personal to my own family. My family knew everything about it, everything. And on top of that, if you look back, Bob, I mean, I've seen people like, for example, John McCain talk about the mistakes that he's made in his past with respect to his first marriage, and left it, I think, basically at that. I mean, I'm not the first person to do this, but I don't want to talk about that. That's about somebody else. This is about me. Let me say this, and I want to say it absolutely clearly. I was wrong, and I am responsible.
And your wife, Elizabeth, has also been damaged in this. Why is she not here with us to speak? Why do we just have you alone?
Well, let me say first, she's here. She's right here. I can promise you that, as she is all the time. I have seen these public figures who bring their wives along